I spoke to their CEO, Pascal Gauthier, for the second time, the first time being at Bitcoin Miami last year in person, about what they're doing to help the industry, how they're talking to regulators and legislators. He's literally in Washington right now, and what we can look forward to in the world of self-custody.
That's dope.
Last time we sat down was in Miami at Bitcoin Miami last year.
I remember.
Few things have changed.
They have, yes.
It's been quite a year. How's it been for you? I would assume that there's actually been a bit of a push for self-custody after all that we've seen with these collapses and this contagion.
Yeah, very much so. We've had the best day, best week, best month when FTX collapsed. Every time there is a big event like FTX or SVB, our sales shoot through the roof because the combination of Ledger and Bitcoin is considered a safe haven. This is when our sales correlate the most to, if we take gold as an index, our sales correlate 100% to gold as an index when these events happen. So yeah, I mean, what's been tough for the industry has been good for Ledger. That being said, the macro is sort of pushing everything down. So it's not like, Ledger is doing well, but, we are like everyone, and we hope that, we expect the market at some point to pick up, whether it's 24, 25, but the markets are still relatively slow. And so, in these markets, like, Ledger is sort of flat year on year in terms of revenue, in terms of valuation. Flat is the new up, so we're not complaining.
Slightly down, I think, is the new up. Down less than 10% is probably the new up at this point. I've never thought to index hardware wallets and Bitcoin together to evaluate the asset as a store of value, or for that correlation to gold. I mean, we've seen obviously that Bitcoin has become less correlated to the NASDAQ and tech stocks and more correlated to gold, but bundling those two together makes so much sense.
Yeah. This is what we've done recently, because we're trying to figure out, like, what's the best indicator, like, what's the best comparison, and how do we correlate to, so some kind of, what kind of macro event, etc. And, gold is one where in these moments of tension, there are several, like, actually exchanges outflow is one thing that also correlates strongly with good business for us, etc. But, the price of gold and the gold business in general, especially when there is a big tension.
Yeah, and you also mentioned that you saw a huge spike on SVB, and I find that a bit surprising. I don't find it surprising at all that you would see a spike in Ledger sales with FTX or Celsius, BlockFi, Voyager, etc. But I am a bit surprised that you're seeing that flight to safety when a bank collapses. So that's interesting. How do you explain that?
But it's the same phenomenon. It's really like the fact that, you can't trust central authorities. Nobody's too big to fail. And so, SVB collapsed, but also Credit Suisse. And, if Swiss banks go under, like, what's left out there?
Ledgers.
And so yeah, I mean, people are concerned with their savings, and, and people usually in these times, like, sort of realize that, their saving at the banks are not, guaranteed. Like, people always go under the impression, like, it's cool if my money's at the bank, then, sort of whatever happened, they'll pay me back. And they realize in these moments that actually it's not the case. There is a cap at $250,000, and that's it. And also, to retrieve your money is very difficult, etc. And so not your keys, not your coins, but, like, not your money, not your money. Like, if your money is...
Yeah, I mean, literally, not your mattress, not your coins, I guess. I mean, not your cash, right? I mean, if you don't have it buried somewhere at this point, where are you even going to put it? It's crazy. You also mentioned that...
history repeats itself, 2008, Lehman Brothers, etc. And every time there is a reminder, it's like, oh, it's true, and this is why Bitcoin was created, etc. Like, so you don't have to trust a central authority. And you'll see that in 5 years, people will have, forgotten a little bit, but also probably in 5 years, 10 years, the market, especially central authorities, will do a better job at security and governance, which which they have not done in the past, and especially, and now I'm talking about crypto only, but they've not done in the past. And FTX is a case of fraud, but but also it's a good case to see that if an actor doesn't have very good answers in terms of how they run their security and how they run their process and how they run their governance, probably means that they're bound to fail. And so I think this would be it's a valid question today to all the actors that are sort of out there. It's like, how do you run security? How do you run governance and all these things? And I can tell you that there are a bunch of actors that are not investing enough in that. Everybody is focused on the top line, which is fair. Like, businesses are for profit and they need to survive, and it's a cold winter. But businesses should invest more into their security layer for sure.
You said there's also an obvious correlation when there's outflows from centralized exchanges, but we're at a point where maybe we need to see some inflows because even our market makers are leaving. There's no liquidity, the books are thin, and there's effectively almost no Bitcoin left on exchanges. I mean, this is becoming, I think, a major problem for the market, at least in the United States, especially.
Yeah, but because it's the wrong way to trade on an exchange anyways. Like, the coin shouldn't be on an exchange. This is an anomaly. In the normal world, you have a segregation of duties. Custodians are custodians, the exchange does the exchange, and they're sort of market makers, prime brokers, etc. Like, you have I don't see why a crypto exchange will have features that are extremely different from a normal exchange, in the sense that they're all central authorities. Like, there's nothing Bitcoin about like an exchange. There's nothing about
absolutely
freedom. It's a central authority. It's very opaque. You don't know what's going on. You don't know where the coins are. And so the reason why there was a segregation of duty, and there should be a segregation of duty, is exactly this. And the reason why nobody wants to leave their coins on an exchange is because nobody wants to take the counterparty risk. Like, who's the next exchange that's going to blow up and with how many hundreds of millions? But what's happening in the market is actually good, which is, actors like us, but not just us. Like, we're trying to figure out, like, okay, so how can you now trade from custody? So the custodian will actually keep the coins and trade from there with with smart technology that allows you to actually do that. And so I think this is where the market is going. And so until this is in place and actors like us, sort of Fireblocks, Copper, etc., do more of this, I think you won't see many coins on an exchange, because right now it's just yes, you could trade and make some money trading, but you could also lose everything. So who's going to take that risk?
I mean, what you just described is already quite popular with MetaMask, Uniswap, etc., holding the actual coins, certainly ERC20 coins, on your ledger, then signing the transaction to trade and doing the trade on a decentralized exchange and still maintaining self-custody. So I don't see why that wouldn't become sort of the norm in the future. I mean, I think people maybe like the order book and, being able to visualize and place stop losses, but all those things are coming, I think, to DeFi or already here to some degree.
Yeah, no, completely. I mean, but DeFi was designed for this. Like, DeFi was designed so, you need to secure the endpoint, and typically you secure the endpoint with a ledger or with Ledger Enterprise or with some form of security for the endpoint, but the coins are never on the exchange in a way. And I think this is where the market is going. So whether it's going there because of with DeFi, or it's CEFI still has a role to play in the future, but only if it does only what it's supposed to do, which is sort of the trade, and before and after the coins are never left on the platform. This is also what we're seeing with the retail offering that we have in Ledger Live. Like, you see people that are using Ledger Live more and more to trade. Actually, Q1, we've seen triple-digit growth in terms of volume of trades that happen on Ledger Live, which is very counter-cyclical. I mean, the market was down, I think, 40%.
Right.
And we've seen like triple-digit growth for us in that regard, and on numbers that are good. Like, it wasn't like zero and suddenly we do one. Like, it was already quite strong, and we're seeing real growth into this. And that's the second phenomenon that we see in terms of people understanding two things. People understand, self-custody is important, and to trade from and, from and back to self-custody is also very important. So we see more and more of that behavior. And honestly, before FTX, I mean, it worked for sure, but still people were wondering, but why should I do that? I prefer to trade directly from the exchange. I think we're hearing less and less of that now, where people are like, well, actually, this is a cool feature and I prefer to trade from my ledger. And more, we see more and more also participants, like a lot of exchanges are getting plugged into our system. And so that's, I think that's good for everyone.
Will you see that on actual centralized exchanges, or is it going to stay strictly in DeFi? I mean, do you think that the state exchanges themselves are cognizant of the fact that they should not be custodians and that they should be adding these features? I know there are centralized exchanges that have DeFi aspects and are building, they'll call it Web3 to be able to do things like this.
No, but we have a product that brings, whether you're CEFI or DeFi, doesn't really matter. Like we bring everyone into some kind of a sky scanner for buying and swapping, etc. Well, buying and selling is like purely CEFI right now. So we have a sky scanner for that. So if you want to buy Bitcoin, then we give you the choice. We filter actually for you, and we give you the choice on like the best value prop that we find for you in the market. But it's the same for swap, and we compare actually CEFI to DeFi, and then you choose what's the best offer for you. And everybody's game for two reasons. One, everybody needs traffic right now, and everybody needs traders, and so they're happy to get it from wherever. But also, for some exchanges, it's the right thing to do. If you take an actor like Kraken has always said, if you go onto their homepage, they've always said, don't leave the coins on the exchange.
Yeah, self custody.
Yeah, and withdraw to a hardware wallet. So Kraken is the poster child of what needs to be done, I think.
Yeah, I think everyone can definitely agree with that. Interestingly, I asked you right before we started actually recording, I said, so where are you right now? And you said, I'm in Washington, which I expected maybe like I would see tears or your hair falling out or something like that. And you used a very surprising word for your experience there. You said, it's pleasant. I wouldn't expect it to be pleasant.
Well, first of all, I have to say that Washington is a great city. And so
beautiful.
The city is beautiful. The city itself is very pleasant. I'm here with a few colleagues, and in the morning we go for a run. I mean, it's a great city. It's a very impressive city. I mean, it's the center of like federal power for the United States of America. So it is very impressive. And the institutions, the democratic institutions that the United States have are, whether people can be criticizing, of course, and nothing is perfect, but it still functions very well. The simple fact that you can access the buildings very easily, you don't even need to flash an ID, etc. I mean, they are, people that represent the people, and most of the people, I mean, all of the people that I've met so far, they're very conscious of that. I think, everybody is doing, as far as I could see, I mean, I didn't meet with everyone and I didn't see everything, but my experience tells me that you have representatives that actually do care about their constituents and trying to do the best they can to run the US. So no, it is a pleasant experience, and I've met with very, very smart people. I'm very impressed by the quality of your representatives. I mean, they are quite exceptional people. All of the people that I've met in the past few days were actually very smart and understand, crypto deeply. So that was, I wouldn't say a surprise because I was brief, but it's always, but it's pleasant.
It's surprising.
So
I think it's surprising. Yeah, okay. I think you look from the outside, and that's not the impression that you would get. Although we know obviously that what happens, in a meeting behind closed doors is probably very different than the public persona of quite a few of them. But it's encouraging to hear. It's encouraging to hear that that's the case.
It is the case, but also, maybe I'm slightly biased because I meet with a lot of people that are in, certain pockets of the Congress, etc., and that take care of like banking and regulation and and crypto, etc. So they are in the know and they're sort of specialized into this. But the people that are working on this and specialized into this, they know what they're talking about, like deeply, not on the surface, not a little bit, like deeply. So I think you guys are lucky to have such people to represent you.
I'll take it. I mean, did you ever think that you'd be sitting in Washington taking meetings with legislators? You're effectively becoming a lobbyist for the crypto industry without being donned with that title, right?
No. But you know what? Like, what I feel that when I'm in Washington is like the friendship between the French and the Americans, like, is really real. People are very nice to me in general, and I think there is a deep friendship in the way that the United States was built, and the French helped at the beginning, and you can feel that. But no, I mean, I had no concept of me, being in, meeting people to actually do something meaningful for the industry. But it also shows that the industry that we've chosen, and sort of Bitcoin and crypto in general, is a real industry for the future. I mean, there are two trends right now: it's AI and this. And AI is digital abundance versus, and the other side of the coin is crypto for digital scarcity. And they're two sides of the same coin. And so these are the two sort of burning issues of technology going forward. And I just feel very blessed that I'm able to represent Ledger, but more broadly, like the crypto community here. So and for a French guy, like it's all good.
I've never heard AI described as digital abundance and crypto described as digital scarcity. That's brilliant. First time that for is that yours?
No, I wish it was mine. I stole it from someone. I stole it from Ian Rogers, who stole it from someone else, and so. But it's really good. So whoever came up with that first, I mean, thank you. And but I think it's true.
If they're the two sides of the same coin, where do you see them meeting? Because I think that, I mean, inevitably there's going to be some major use cases and integrations between the two industries.
Well, first of all, it's like, how do you decipher AI bots from humans going forward? I mean, only crypto can do that. Only because you can prove with crypto that you're human, you will be able to say, I'm human, I'm not a bot, or I'm not artificial intelligence, and or whatever I'm going to write now, and even if it's enhanced by artificial intelligence, I'm going to sign cryptographically to say that this is me and this is what I want to say. So I think this is where I see the coin is like, you're going to need crypto to prove many things going forward. Otherwise, you won't be able to believe anything that you read or you see, deep fakes, et cetera, et cetera. So crypto is a way to prove something. I can prove I own a Bitcoin. I can prove my identity. I can prove I'm human. I can prove I'm 18, etc. And so in the world of digital abundance, it's going to be very important to decipher who is who and what is what. So I think this is the main thing. Now AI is a great tool, and there are some dangers attached to AI, but also some great opportunities. So for any company, whether you're crypto or not, it's a great tool to do many things. To help developers, develop faster, to review code, to do level 1 customer success, etc., etc. So all these things, as a CEO in a company like Ledger, you have to look at and see how this can impact your business. And there are, many of the things that you can do with AI. And this is only the beginning. Like ChatGPT 4, I think it is. Maybe tomorrow is going to be 5, and there's going to be other players, etc. So it's going to deeply transform the way that we work. But again, just to make sure that we stay human and that we can decipher humans from machines, you're going to need crypto to prove that it's you.
So there's been a lot of challenges, I would say, for self-custody as it's evolved, right? I think still to this day, a lot of people are just terrified of being their own bank. They don't want to deal with their seed phrases. They're afraid they'll fall on their head or the piece of paper will go down in flames. But it seems like you guys are making a lot of significant steps towards somewhat abstracting away that complexity. Can you talk a bit about Ledger Recover? It sounds a bit like sort of the 2 of 3 multi-sigs, but running in the background. I would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there are a few pain points, but I would say a few things. First, I think it's now a misconception to say that self-custody is hard. I mean, it is not hard. And actually, I've been in the US for a month and a half, and I've talked to many people. And many people that have sort of switched from sort of custody to self-custody that told me, actually, Ledger is easier to use than my custody before. And if you think about it, it's true. Like, there are many things that you could consider harder to use, but get this, like once you have a ledger and it's set up, you have a PIN code, you have access to your funds, you can do whatever you want with them. When you're in custody, like how many phone calls you need to make, how many 2FAs you need to have, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it is not true that using Web2 even or your bank, etc., is that easy. Like you need to do several steps, you need to click on emails, etc. It's not very easy. Actually, to do a transaction with your ledger, it is pretty easy. You just go there, you do the parameters of the transaction, you press enter, you double click on your ledger, you just verify that the addresses are correct, double click on your ledger, boom, it's gone. And so that's easy. But you're right, there are certain things, but having said that, we're not going to sit there and look at this and say, okay, we are very happy with ourselves, and now this is all that we're going to do. You need to sort of push forward. My prediction is actually that self-custody is going to be much easier to use than any form of custody in the next 5 years, and without risk too, because the problem is you have a few problems. You have an onboarding problem. It's like, how easy do you make it to onboard and to understand, etc. And so launching Stax mid-June, this is one of the problems that we're tackling. Stax is a much easier product to use in general, but especially for the onboarding part. And in the onboarding process, you're right, there is always this problem of like, what am I doing with my 24 words? Like, finally, what them, etc. It's very stressful. I have this little story that's that is about me. It's like, one day I set up a nano. I do my 24 words, and then I'm very clever and I hide them somewhere, etc. And one day I still have my nano, I still have my PIN code, and I'm like, but where? And so I don't remember where the 24 words. I was so clever in hiding them that I could never find them again. And so so it was fine because I still had my nano and my PIN code. And so what I did is I retransferred the coin onto a different address where this time I had 24 words. So the 24 words, that's a real concern. And when you talk to people around you or talk to people around me, people say exactly what you say, which is, I don't trust myself with this. So ledger recovery is a way in the onboarding process where you're always going to be able to keep your 24 words for yourself if you want. And that's a recommendation in general that we have for people, is like, keep your 24 words and never share them with anyone. There is no reason why you should give your 24 words to anyone, even if it's Ledger. Ledger will never ask you 24 words. If Ledger asks you something like this, it's probably because you're being hacked or phished. But in the process, you'll be able to shard your 24 words with 3 different custodians that are in 3 different regions of the world, and so 3 different regulations. And those custodians have no way of connecting together to share the shard that they have. And so nobody apart from you will be able to recreate the full 24 words. And so that's a great product because that's one of the biggest pain points of the industry. And, we're happy to come with this. And there is a launch date now that is that's sometimes in May, anytime soon.
You mentioned obviously another huge thing that you have releasing, which is Stax, and that thing looks awesome, right? Yeah. And I know like the way you'll be able to display NFTs and the sort of rounded corners on the screen. I mean, is this it? Is this the product? Is this the thing that helps us go mainstream, where it just becomes so easy that people love it and we're done with all this conversation? Or do you think it's still a part of the evolution?
Man, it's going to be an evolution for the next 30 years. I mean,
yeah.
So I don't think Stax is it's neither the beginning nor the end. It's just like it's on the way to mass adoption. I think we designed this, or Tony Fadell, the inventor of the iPod, designed this, and so it looks very Apple, but it's really like Tony from Apple and Ledger with our security background, and we just had a baby together, and the name of the baby is Stax. And you can see that it has very Apple-like features in terms of design, in curved screen, etc. And the way that Tony thinks about a product it's really amazing to see. But he had to work with the security team, and sometimes even Tony has a way of doing things, and he's like, well, this is what I would like the product to do, and the security team would say it's not possible, because security-wise not. And so they had to find compromise, and it was beautiful to see this tension at work, positive tension, constructive tension, in order to build the product. So Stax has exactly the same features in terms of security as the X, the S, and a Ledger in general, but has sort of beautiful design. But the beautiful design is to enhance the UX and UI. And again, back to this idea of making it easy to onboard and making it much easier to use. And when we discussed this with Tony at the beginning, this project started 2 years ago. Tony made a comment. We say, hey, you guys, because we kept on saying that we have a B2C business, business to consumer. He's like, no. You guys are business to geeks, and you have to make it business to consumer. And no disrespect to us geeks, we're part of the geeks, and the geeks are amazing, and the geeks are the first people that start forming an industry and a product. But for the consumers to come, the less geeky and the less technical, you have to make it much easier to use. So you have to dumb it down, and you have to build an interface, a product that is A, people desire, and B, that is super easy to use. So this is definitely one step in that direction. And so far, all the reviews and everyone that has, sort of engaged and touched the product, like, the feedbacks are extremely good, and exactly saying that. It's like, oh my God, like this is much easier to use. And so I can see now why I would switch to sort of ledger and self-custody. But you need to have a combination of the two, right? You need to desire the product. Like, okay, I want one. And some people is like, just say to us, like, I want one. I don't know what I will do with it, but I want one.
Sure.
And then ease of use, which is as soon as you engage with the product, it feels very natural. So we believe it's the iPod moment of the industry. MP3 players pre-existed the iPod, and suddenly there was the iPod, and so we like to think that it's going to be that moment for the crypto industry.
Is it a challenge at all that you're creating this incredible consumer product, but you also want people to kind of every once in a while just put it in a safe and not always have it on them? Or is this a product that you feel someone can always have it on them and still be safe and secure?
Yeah, 100%. But it's stacked, so you can stack them together. So first of all, we think that people should think about how they do their security, and to each person maybe different ways of doing their security. We feel that you have a magnet in the stacks, and it's very clever. You can stack them, and the fact that you have this e-ink curve screen, and you can make the spine, you can personalize the full screen and the spine differently, and so you can stack them together, and you can have different things in them. So we believe that you shouldn't have to walk in the street with everything that you own on you. I mean,
but you can have a couple cool NFTs that you want to show off to your friends.
Correct. And, and maybe a few $1,000s that you can have on another stacks if you want.
Like your wallet. Yeah.
Yeah, your wallet, etc. Different things like that. And in the future will come with, even, software clever ways of doing this, like, sort of through sort of multi-sig and, governance that we're going to put on top of stacks, like meaning that, if you're going to do a transaction over like $5,000, maybe you need to, 2 out of 3 to sign, versus under $5,000, where it's just like your credit card. I mean, some of us have credit cards with where you can spend $20,000 a day, and it's just a PIN. In the US, sometimes you don't even need the PIN; you just swipe the card, and you can spend $20,000 in a club.
They never ask us for our PIN, literally ever.
Exactly. So there are things that already exist like this in the current world, and what we're doing with Ledger is just more secure than what exists today. And so if you have too much, keep some, put it on different ledger. This is how Stax has been designed, so you can have several and know what is in each.
So I heard a really cool story about you guys in Trust Wallet that I was surprised about. I think it's called Ledger Donjon. Is that? But that actually, I think a lot of people heard about the potential Trust Wallet exploit that they had that put $30 million at risk. But I had no idea that you guys had white hat hackers on staff that identified that and effectively saved Trust Wallet and Binance until I read the story today. And this was a while ago. So could you talk a bit about that? I just didn't know that was a service you offered or something you guys were doing.
Yeah, no, so we're a security company. Ledger is a security company. And so what we do is we build the defense for the industry. And as every security company always has what's called an attack lab. And so it's a bunch of white hats, la crème de la crème, as we say in French. And what they do every day is like they hack systems. They hack hardware, they hack software, they hack everything that they can hack. They hack our products first, just to make sure that they're extremely secure, because you want the dungeon to attack a Ledger product before someone else finds a way in. And so you want to attack and patch. We have a bounty program where you can contact the dungeon if you find something really on any product, but on Ledger products, and help us enhance the security for Ledger products and for the industry. And so when we hack another system, of course, our intention is to help this other company or the system to upgrade their security and to be more secure, because there is this is our mission. Like we need to make crypto secure and easy to use. But like for everyone and everywhere, like, this doesn't scale. This game doesn't scale if you only secure with Ledger, for example. You have to sort of be secure everywhere. This is why we power financial institutions and exchanges with Ledger technology, also via Ledger Enterprise. Because why would you compromise on security if you're very secure with your Ledger Nano or Stax? Why would you compromise on security once you send a coin to an exchange in the future? I mean, in reality, exchanges should run all on some form of ledger technology that guarantees A, security of the private key, and B, security of the governance, like who has access to what, etc. Can the CEO of the exchange walk away with the coins? If the answer is yes, then it's a terrible way of doing things. You should have segregations between administrators of the funds and operators of the funds, and that's true for any fund, exchange, etc., etc. So that's our job. And so when we find something, we just contact the people in question and we have them fix it. And then there is a process that's called responsible disclosure, where we show what we found. And the reason why we do it is not because we're arrogant or cocky, it's because we then help other researchers to see how we could break the system and eventually fix theirs that was built the same way with the same architecture, or find other ways of breaking system, and so therefore continuously improving the security of the industry. So that's what happened, and we will keep on doing it, and we will help everyone to increase their security. Sometimes you find bugs that can't be patched. Okay, so that's when the system fails, and so usually the only option that the vendor has at this moment, or that the company has at this moment, is just to change completely architecture, etc. But if it fails, it fails, and people should know that it's a failed system. So security is not kind. Like, if it's broken, it's broken. Security by obscurity is not the way that we win. Security,
but I don't.
We have to be open.
Yeah, I just don't think that every company would help their competitor in that way. I mean, they are a competitor technically.
Yeah, but I think it would be worse for everyone if TrustRiot got hacked. It's not great for the industry, because
we've seen it. It's terrible.
It's terrible. If TrustRiot get hacked, if other get hacked, etc., then the trust goes away, and then people start. It is not true that you can win on your own. So this theory to say, well, let's everybody else fails and only Ledger survives. That's not a great industry.
Yeah, that absolutely makes perfect sense. So you're obviously, since you're building these security systems and you're building these devices, you're probably looking far ahead versus other people in the industry in what's coming, right? You need to be able to secure things that we might have evolved 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So what are you seeing in the industry that's exciting to you, that might be coming, that's not on everyone's radar, that you guys are already working on?
Yeah. I think, Ledger, the way that we design our security platform is sort of the low beta for the industry. And what we see coming, there are two things. Like, the way that we design security, first of all, start with hardware. And so people usually think that hardware is like a bad word, but it is the gravity of security. Like, every security system has some form of secure hardware into it. And people usually say, I've got a very clever investor the other day that said, yes, but MPC, as if MPC was only software. It is not. Like, MPC runs in secure enclaves, and so that's hardware. And so the question is, a real online security system has hardware, operating system, and software. Like, it's a combination of these three technologies. And so you can do research, and you can work on these three layers going forward. And MPC is great, and a lot of people are working on that. And it's very complementary to hardware and to various other security layers that you can put around sort of private keys and a system. So I don't believe in competition. I believe in cooperation of different type of technologies to build like the best possible secure system. But we are very focused on hardware, and so therefore we are thinking about like how to design secure elements and HSMs, hardware security modules, so secure servers, for the next 5 to 10 years. Because the problem of hardware is like it's a very long time. If you decide something today, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It will take a few years to get there, and depending on the complexity of what you're trying to achieve, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 3, could be 5. And so if you think about like what you want to do in 5 years and how the systems will evolve, like you need to start making decisions today. And this is the way we work, and this is what we're doing basically. We're trying to see what's coming. What's coming, in a way, it's very simple. I think it's everything that has value, every secret will go onto a blockchain. And so blockchains would not be just carrying like, cryptocurrencies, but also, other forms of valuable items. And identity is probably the most important one going forward. I mean, in terms of mass adoption, identity theft online is starting to be like a huge problem. And so crypto will be a way to protect your identity. And so therefore on your Ledger wallet, in the future, you'll probably have your money, your identity, your health data, like a bunch of things that is in your wallet today. I mean, if you open your Ledger wallet that you probably have on you still today, and you see what's inside, everything that's inside that wallet, coupon, Starbucks points, etc. And you know that Starbucks is already doing this, right? It's already
NFT, sure.
And so that tomorrow will be in your wallet. But the thing is, your wallet should be able now to process a lot more information, a lot more coins, like have more space, run like several applications at the same time, etc. So the future of this, we need to work on secure elements, HSM, etc. So they're sort of bigger, faster, and stronger, basically.
Yeah, the identity element is huge, even beyond, I think, the theft side of it. There's also just your right to privacy and to your own data and to securing that and not giving that away to every company and everyone you purchase something from. So I think that part of it is going to end up probably compelling even more people to secure their identity as we've come to realize, what big tech and the government are doing with all of our data and our information.
Oh, correct. But, sometimes the governments are sort of conflicted. Like, they want to do many things, but interestingly, identity on crypto is a way, and with, additional technologies like zero knowledge proof is a way to share your identity, but without revealing necessarily everything. So I can prove to you that I'm legally in the United States, which sometimes you need to know, but that's all I'll share. I don't need to tell you who I am, my name, where I live, etc. But I can prove to you that I'm legal, which is not the case for me today. But so I would not be able to prove that. But that I'm allowed to be in the United States, or I can prove to you that I'm a U.S. citizen, or I can prove to you that I'm 18. And this opened like so many use cases. I mean, the one that I use frequently is, I don't think that online porn is okay. Free online porn, I don't think it's okay for young people. If you're 14, I don't think you should look at that.
I think everyone agrees there, yeah.
And so, and I think, it should be accessible to adults. But however, I also don't think that you should have to flash your ID to access the contents. I don't think that's cool. But with crypto, you could definitely, and with your ledger, what you could do and this is not science fiction. This is like maybe 2024. You could log on with your ledger. You could connect with your wallet, prove that you're 18, and that will give you access to content, whether porn or whatever. But you see my example.
Yeah, I think that could really trigger mainstream adoption when people realize how important of an issue that is and how much they're losing their data and how much you're giving away for things like that. Like you said, imagine literally having to show your ID to your screen to be able to access something like that. Now everybody knows exactly what you're looking at on your computer. I mean, that's horrifying.
Yeah, but we're slightly going there. And so I think, crypto is the safety net. In French, we say la vie est bien faite. Life is well designed in a way. It is interesting when all of this is happening, like sort of AI and, people wondering about like bots and who is a credible actor on the internet and spam and all these things. It's interesting that, crypto will come as a savior right now. And I think so. I think, crypto in general and, in cryptocurrency and public blockchains are coming at a very good time to solve some of these issues. At first, when I got into crypto in 2014, is that, it was a meme to say Bitcoin fixes this, and, Bitcoin can fix everything. So it probably cannot fix everything, but it can fix a lot, and it's going to be front and center in everybody's life going forward. We will have more digital stuff going forward. That's clear. And whether it's an NFT, whether it's a coin, whether it's your ID, etc., there will be more crypto stuff that we'll be able to own and decide then where and with whom we want to engage and participate.
So a lot of people believe that central bank digital currencies are inevitable, certainly in a number of countries. And obviously there's quite a fear over what that would mean. But I would imagine if we get central bank digital currencies, then they'll need companies like yours to secure them, right? I mean, do you think that if everything goes digital in that manner, if all money goes digital, that we're going to see it largely on blockchains and being secured by the same technology? Do you think that it would be completely something else developed by the government, a closed system?
Well, I mean, from a pure technology standpoint, I think I would want to see if any government outside of sort of China that is, that is very sort of verticalized, and the decision comes from the top, is a very top down. So this is what we do, and everybody does what the party decides, which is one way of doing things. But in a country like the United States of America, where you have sort of check and balances and a constitution that makes it sometimes hard to do things, but for good reasons, which is it's a feature, it's not a bug.
Right.
I don't exactly see how any government that runs like that, so even Europe, can go sort of top down and build a technology, and let alone an industry. It has never happened in the past. Governments are not able to do that. And again, I'm not talking about like the philosophy behind the CBDCs, etc. I'm just talking about pure execution. How do you go from nothing to suddenly something that everybody uses? Like, who does the wallet? Who does the tech? How do you coordinate like governmental effort with sort of banks, etc.? Who runs the network? What kind of network it is? Etc. It seems stretched in terms of what is the go-to-market of this. So this is where I'm very unclear. Now you can talk a lot about CBDCs, etc., and why they're good or bad, and who's going to do what with them. But I would be very surprised. And in Europe and in France, we are the specialist of having like at some point governments or someone at the European Parliament that has a big idea on what we should do, but the execution is always extremely poor, and especially when it comes to technology. I mean, look at any online service that is provided by any governments in the free world, and and tell me, how do they compare to your Google account? I mean, Google has far superior technology, so I don't know who's going to build that technology for any government to be sort of robust, scaling, etc., etc. I think there is people look at Bitcoin and sort of and other cryptocurrency and look at it very quickly and say, okay, fine, we're going to do the same. It is very difficult. I mean, right now, to run a global network like Bitcoin is very, very difficult. And what Bitcoin has achieved over the years is fantastic. It's not a small thing. It is extraordinary. And so for anyone to think that they're going to be able to replicate that because they want to, I think it's a mistake. So from a pure operational standpoint, I mean, I wish good luck to anyone who wants to have a global money transmission network where users, enterprise, industries can access freely, open, etc. Or even if you want to close it, whatever you want to do, to run something like this is very, 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 very difficult.
We have seen now a lot of other things needing to be secured on the Bitcoin network, like ordinals and BRC20 tokens. Is that all built in already to what Ledger has because of the nature with Bitcoin, or is that something you now have to build for?
We have to build for some of the stuff that we know that is sort of interesting, and we will other stuff like debatable. So Ledger will never be first, but we'll always be right. Security is not security doesn't react to the news. Like if there is the new cool kid in town, like the Pepe token or whatever, it's like it's cool, but we can't react like this and secure it, etc. It takes time. It's security technology is usually a little longer it takes a little longer to code on it, but because you want it to be extremely secure. So the market is happening, and if it's strong and if it stays, then of course we'll support it.
I think it's going to stick around, to be quite honest. I didn't think so at first, but it seems to be growing at such a tremendous rate that I think you're going to have a new job on your hands.
Yeah, we'll support it. I mean, and again, like Ledger has been designed as an open platform. So any third party can go to developers.ledger.com and code their own app onto our systems, and even an integration all the way to Ledger Live. And we have a big team that is here to support those kind of integrations. So, I mean, really there is no problem. And so if it's here to stay and if it's good, then of course we'll support it.
Well, I hope you convince those fine people in Washington to give us some sensible regulation and legislation in this country. You're maybe more hopeful being there than I am. Maybe I need to fly up to Washington and take a few meetings to get a little more optimistic.
No, you should. I mean, it's debates. You have to put yourself in the shoes of sort of legislators and regulators. This is very hard. Like, technology is exponential. So you have, at the same time that you have crypto happening, you have AI happening, etc. How do you think about that if you're in their shoes? I mean, it is very difficult. So I think our approach is to try and be helpful, and the same that we do with security. We help other companies. We try to help as much as we can, and explain what we do. And we do it from a place of trying to secure the industry and secure the governance of the industry and self-custody. So we're really about freedom, and we think it's important. There are some people that are strongly against crypto. It's very hard to talk to these people because they just don't want it, and usually it's because they don't like freedom. They would prefer to have control over people. We're not for that. Like, I think freedom to the people is an important concept in democracy, and the ability to be able to own what is yours also, I think, it's a fundamental right. So we're here to help and educate, but we also know that some people are against what we stand for, and we are also happy to disagree.
Well, then we need to win. Can't wait to get my hands on a couple of those stacks, man. Where can everybody else go, I guess, pre-order them now in advance of the release, or check them out?
Look, I think Best Buy still takes
I saw that.
Pre-orders. So I would go on Best Buy and pre-order.
Awesome. And where can people follow you after this conversation?
You can follow me on Twitter, and thanks to Elon, actually, it's easy to follow the real me and not a fake me, because me is _P Gauthier, Gauthier, and I have a little blue check and also a little Ledger logo next to my
I need one of those cool second logos, man. That seems to be the thing right now. Pretty awesome. I don't know why I would need one, but why not more? Yeah, because it's cool. That's a great reason, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Like I said, I can't wait to see the products, and I can't wait to see you convince those people up in Washington to help us out, man. So thank you very much.
Merci, Scott.
That's dope.